Okay, so last video I was talking about die cut covers, so I thought I'd pick up where I left off. This small town record is kind of cool because the colored vinyl actually works as a sunset of sorts through the die cut. I really dig this band, Hookworms, their new album, The Hum. There's not much to the die cut, but I dig them, so I thought I'd squeeze it in here. This Monty Python matching tie and handkerchief actually has a really simple die cut. It just shows a portion of the character until you pull it out and realize he's being hung. But the interesting part is actually that it has a hidden side on it. So if you play the B side, depending on where the needle drops, it might play the B side or a hidden C side. So it's kind of a three-sided album. There's a lot of musicians that did this. Kate Bush, for her Central World EP, did it. So if you drop it in that double grooved A side, you either get the instrumental version of the song or the full version of the song. This Tilly in the Wall is a nice, simple one. Very simple die cut, but the idea is that every one of these records that you buy has an original piece of artwork in them. So everything was created for the initial run of this release. And I believe this piece of artwork that I have is from Joey Lynch. This one's relatively recent, As Tall as Lions. That's a pretty basic one. It's got some nice colored vinyl on it, but the die cut itself is just some holes punched in that partially reveals the artwork inside. And there's no way I can show all the different die cuts that are out there, so I'm just going to show you a handful more. But the ones that I'm really interested in showing are ones like this cave painting release, where as you pull the record out, it begins to create kind of a vibration or an animation of sorts. And it's these animations that I'm actually most interested in showing in this particular video. Tom York released one, Feeling Pulled Apart by Horses. Does the same thing. As you pull the sleeve out, you see this kind of vibration through the die cut in the front of the cover. Subtract had three EPs that came out, Transitions 1, 2, and 3. Same kind of thing. It's a smaller area in the kind of bottom right corner of each release, but each sleeve on the first, second, and third had different colors on the inner sleeve, I should say. But they all did kind of this raining effect, this little zapping of colors as it would move down to the bottom right. But the animation is pretty cool to look at. One of the earliest ones of these kind of things I have is from XTC, Great Fire. This one's a little difficult to see. It's a little messed up and it's an older release, but the sleeve has printing on it, and then the inner cover has printing on it. So through the transparent area, they combine and look like flames whipping up through the top. It's just a nice visual effect, optical illusion. And there's one on the back too, a different color, so you can do it from the red or the orange. This release listed as Belbury Poly, but it's got a Daphne Oram on it also. The Untold Story of the British Space Program. It's a similar one. This is just a 7-inch, kind of like the Great Fire one is. The visuals are a little more difficult to see, but the sleeve is sturdier, so it is a little cleaner, whereas the XTC one was very flimsy. It's a thinner plastic. And these stiffer plastic things, I think as designers were realizing it worked a lot better, more people started investing in these, and this Machine Deer release, Killing Something That's Already Dead, is probably one of the cleanest ones out there. It's a really nice visual effect as you pull that inner sleeve out from the clear outer plastic sleeve. It just creates this crazy vibrating animation of blacks and whites. It's really quite nice. The plastic is printed with the exact opposite of what the inner sleeve is printed with, so when it's closed it just looks like a black square. Please the Trees. James Laban had introduced me to this band, A Forest Affair, is this release. It's really cool. It's super fast and frenetic as you pull the sleeve out, but it's the same kind of thing. It creates this animation. Really interesting band out of the Czech Republic. I really dig their music.
Where my heart used to belong.
So at the time this video was made, TV on the Radio had just come out with a release called Seeds, and it's this exact same kind of thing, but they use a really stiff, clear plastic, so the animation is really effective. There's this weird, vibrating bowl of what seems like lungs spitting out the top, and then the initials of the band and release down below, which kind of rotate like gears and things like that, but a really effective one. And then there's bands like this Captain Beyond self-titled release that have these albums that are using either kind of a holographic material or a metallic material or a lenticular lens, things like this, to create motion as you look at the record from different angles, which gives a really nice visual effect. The Flaming Lips released an album called Unconsciously Screaming, and it has a metallic cover that kind of does this really cool vibration of rainbow of colors, a prism effect, and this prismatic effect has been done with a lot of bands as well. I'm only going to show a handful, but Gap Dream came out with one, I believe it was this past year, which is really nice because it vibrates kind of towards the center or out depending on the angle that you look at it. And of course, Arcade Fire, the Reflectors, had one. There's a lot of mirrored ones as well. Graham Central Station did one. Uriah Heep did a kind of a mirrored cover thing. I'll talk a little bit about the Bright Eyes one because I want to talk about a couple releases here. But just a simple thing where you look in the cover and you see your own reflection in the cover from the metallic thing. But I also want to talk about lenticular lenses, and I want to discuss this Bright Eyes Casadega release. It was probably one of the most creative uses of lenticular lenses because the idea is that it's a decoder and you place it on the album cover, and as you move it around it starts to reveal images and text hidden inside the record. So this whole fortune-telling type mystery revealing concept to the album works really well with the cover. The designer Zack Nipper actually was here in Omaha. In fact, he lived just about a couple blocks away from me at one point. Just a really clever, really very cool design. You won a Grammy for the design, as a matter of fact. So it's cool to see something like that happen with a designer here in Omaha. But really slick because it just looks like a simple, staticky gray cover, nothing to it. And the second you drop that lens down on top of something, it's just a really cool exploratory experience. Focus 3, they had a release where there was a lenticular lens, which just made the name of the band, an album, kind of change colors. So it was pretty simple. There's odd releases, like I'm going to show you this Prince Igor and the Hollywood Symphony one because the lenticular lens is so thick that there's no question what's happening with that one. But most albums, like the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request, use much finer lenticular lenses for the covers, so they're cleaner than the previous one. They give you a nice 3D look, but they can also allow you to alternate between images, so a person could turn their head, for example. But it's kind of like those toys you got in a Cracker Jack box when you were a kid. It's just an effective 3D illusion, or gives you a feeling of motion or something like that. And there are a lot of bands that have done this. Jack White did one for his Live at Third Man Records, and a lot of reissues have done this as well. Then there's this recent reissue of Amandul 2's Yeti. The lenticular lens simply goes back and forth between a couple different images, the image of the original album cover, just some nice visual imagery as it shifts back and forth. A reissue of a Public Enemy album, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. That reissue also had a lenticular cover on it for one of those record store day releases. Here's another band I quite like, Black Moth Super Rainbow, on a label that I quite like, Greyface Records. It's a really nice lenticular. It's like an orange slice or maybe a slice of grapefruit, but it's this face that just explodes off the cover towards you as you move it back and forth. It's a pretty nice effect on this one. Another one, Misfits, The Devil's Rain. It's more almost like a cutout sort. So, I mean, it's one thing in the foreground and then everything else in the background and the name floating above it, but it still works pretty well. The Dirty Projectors and Björk did a thing together, and this one's a little harder to see, especially on video, but it's just a landscape image, which looks just slightly 3D. The effect on this isn't quite as dramatic as some of the other releases that I've got. In fact, this one, Teenage Fantasy Tracer, I thought would be really cool because it's a dramatic shift from one image to another, but it's really just two images, and it really has to be viewed just right for you to be able to see this flower exploding on the front, but it's still interesting. Earlier this year, Temples came out with their debut album Sun Structures, and what they've done is they came out with a new one called Sun Restructured, which is actually a reworking of the album by Beyond the Wizard's Sleeve. They're actually calling it a reanimation, which is funny because the cover is a lenticular, so it kind of animates back and forth as you tilt the cover. So it looks 3D like these other ones, and the figures pop out very nicely from the background. And I guess I really have to mention this Ghostbusters Stay Puft version of the record. It's a recent reissue which smells like marshmallows, so it's got a scent to it. It's puffy, so it feels kind of like a marshmallow. I don't care for the song that much, but because our dog is named Gozer, but here he is dream barking in his sleep, which is adorable, of course. But because we named our dog Gozer, every time some kind of Ghostbusters thing comes out, I seem to have to buy it, and waited on this one long enough that I finally got it for 50% off. So since I'm not a huge fan of the song, or at least not like I am of the movie, the sale price was nice. But there's three images in here that work as lenticulars, so as you turn them, they're either three-dimensional or it moves a little bit, although the one where the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is looking up and in the movie it turns from a smile to a frown. I think that's what they should have used on one of these. But the best one is the last one at the very end of the film where they're zapping him and he explodes. That one has a lot of motion to it, so that one's kind of nice. But again, since our dog is named Gozer, I kind of almost had to buy this.